Hello guys, my name is Hugo and today I'm here to show you how the Auth system works. So let's go. Basically there are four ways of knowing if the user is really who he says he is. Knowledge base, that's something just the user know. It can be his username and password or his email and password, PIN codes. We have possession base, that's something just the user have. It can be SMS or email, authenticator apps. Inheritance base, that's something just the user is. It can use his fingerprint scan, that every person has a different fingerprint. Face recognition, that may be a problem with that because if someone's face is very similar to yours, he can bypass its security. And we have location based, that somewhere the user is. For example, it can use the IP address and the geofencing. That's not so secure because it's so easy to bypass it using a VPN, for example. In this video, we're gonna see a website example where the users can post articles. The authentication we are going to do using the most common way, knowledge based, using the user's email and password. And after that, we are going to generate a JSON web token. So what's a JWT, JSON web token? A JSON web token is a compact URL safe token format used to securely transmit information between parties as a JSON object. It's basically a token that identifies the user. It's divided in three parts: the header, the payload, and the signature. The header describes the type of the token and the signing algorithm. The payload contains the information the developer wants to store, such as the user's name, the user's ID, or the user's role. That we have to be cautious while storing the user's role directly in the token. I'm gonna explain a little bit about that when I show you the code. And we have the signature that ensures the token was not modified. It's created using the header plus the payload and a secret key. I've created this API using Node.js and Express following the MVC architecture. I have this .env example file that you can follow and put the values here in the .env.development file. I'm not going to show mine because for a security measure. We have the app port that usually we use 3000, but you can use another one if you want to. We have the MongoDB URI, you have to put it in here for database connection. And we have the JWT secret that you can generate in the internet. You can just search for JWT secret generator and generate a key and use it in here. Okay, we have the server.js file, the app.js file. We have the controllers in here. We have the database for database connection. We have the measures, the modules, the routes, and the service. I'm gonna explain everything to you, but not now. I'm gonna explain as the video goes. And I'm gonna let the code in my GitHub, and you can just copy it, just clone my repository and change the variables in here, the .env, okay? What's the first thing the user has to do to use a system? What's the first thing, the first part of the Auth logic? It's creating an account. And how does our system allows the user to create an account? we have this root here. We imported these auth roots in the app.js, and the auth roots we have the register in the controller. In the controller we have the register. We can go here to the controller and we have this function here, the register. Okay, in the request body we expect the user to send his name, his email and his password. It's a simple API. I'm not going to focus a lot in validations, but if you wanted to do something more secure, you could put here to expect a confirm password, but I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna do something simpler. Okay, then I'm doing validation here. If the user is passing all fields, and if not, I'm gonna return an error to him with the status 400. Okay, then I'm going to use the find user by email to see if one user with this email already exists, and if it exists, I'm gonna return an error 400 status here. And then if our validations passed, we can create the user using the user service dot create function. This function here that uses the model user. The model user expects a name, an email, and a password. And the row, it doesn't expect it. It's not required, but for secure measure. We have admin and user, but by default the user row it's user. Okay, and we have this user schema pre-save function that before saving the password in the database, it hashes the password. Then, for example, I'm gonna show to you. Let's create an account here using Insomnia. Okay, I have to run my API. Run dev. Okay, I'm creating my API. Now we can just send a register, but it's going to return an error to me with the status 400. Submit all fields to register. Okay, which fields does my API expect? A name, okay, put Google, and a mail. Okay, we can put just Google here with gmail.com. Okay, I put it wrong. Email. Okay, and a password. You can pass the password like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Can click in send. Okay, something wrong. Okay, it's email. I put the Gmail password. Okay, name. Alright, now we have created our user, and then if you go to the database, we can see that our user is here, and the password, okay, it doesn't appear 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 as I put it in here. It's not this number that is saved in the database. We save it as a hashed password for security, because for example, if someone that works in your company has access to your database and you just saved the password as it is, for example 1 2 3 7 8, it's not secure, you know, it's a vulnerability and we have to avoid it. and this function here, the pre-save, it does exactly that. It hashes the password before saving it. Now, after creating his account, the user has to log in the system, and then in the output we have this .login here. In the controller we have this login function. Okay, what does the login functions expect in the hack.body? It expects the email and the password, and then if one of the two is not provided, it returns the 400 status and with this message. Okay, here we try to find the user by email. If we don't find the user, we return an error just saying that email or password invalid, because if you just say okay, user not found, you're going to make the hacker's life more easy than if the login it's not successful for any reason. You just return email or password invalid. You just do not say the reason. Okay, we didn't find the user in the database. You don't return it. You just say email or password invalid. It doesn't matters the reason why the login doesn't pass. Okay, to know if the password is valid, we're gonna use this password we received in the body and use this function from bcrypt that we use it here to hash our password. Here in the user we used the bcrypt to hash our password, and now we're going to use it again, the function compare sync, to see if the password that the user provided is equal the one saved in the database. And how does it work? Okay, a hash it follows a unique road. Okay, like for example, once you hash your password, you cannot unhash it. You cannot use a key, for example, to decrypt it. No, once you hash your password, you cannot unhash it. And to know if two passwords they are equal, you have to hash the two of them. One it's already hashed in the database, it comes from the user.password. It's this one that will come from the database, and the other we have to hash, the other that the user is going to pass in the request. We have to hash it and compare if the two hashes they are equal. If they are equal, if they aren't equal, we're gonna return an error saying email or password invalid. But if they are equal, we are going to generate a token, and the token is a JWT token that we are going to use this function generate token from the Auth service. And this function generate token, it expects the ID, name, email, and row. And remember that I told you that the JWT token has three parts, and the second one is the payload, and the ID, the name, and the email, and the row, they will go to the payload. It's our payload that we are going to store in the token. And I'm saying that this token is going to use the process.jwt secret that we use here, we declare here, that you have to declare in this file here. But as I told you, I cannot show you mine. Okay, Auth. Okay, no, it's not here. Okay, Auth service. Okay, we're going to start this in the payload, and I'm saying that my token is just going to be valid for 1 hour. I can use, like, for example, 24 hours. You can use the time you want to. It depends how secure you want your app to be, and it it's about the usability as well. The user's usability as well. You have to think carefully about the time you want the token to expires. Okay, then after generating our token, we're just going to return the token and the user in the response with the code status code 200. Then if you go here in the login, okay, let's just explain to you the insomnia. I have this. When you come here in base environment, you can click here and you can set some values. For example, my base URL, it's this one, http localhost in the port 3000, sorry, and that's my token that I can save in here, but I'm going to save after logging. And I'm using here my base URL, Auth. When we come here, Auth, because of that, it's Auth, and we have the root we wanted to access. It's Auth, and after login. In here we have login. The register is the base URL Auth register. Okay, what does our login root expect? It expects the email. I'm gonna pass one not valid. I'm gonna pass just ugi@gmail.com and the password. To be okay, 1 2 3 4 6 7. When I send, it's going to return an error for me because the email is not valid. The email is valid, but it's not saved in the database because the user doesn't exist in our database. But if I pass here like that, Google, it's going to return an error again because the password is invalid. But when I pass 8 in here, okay, everything fine. It's going to return my token. You can just copy my token and save it here for future requests I'm gonna do. Okay, now everything fine. Now that the user is logged in, he can post an article. We have this root here, the /articles. We can click here, /articles /post. It's our root, and we have a measure, login required. This measure basically verifies if the user is logged in and if the token is valid. If it's valid, it calls the next function, return next, and the next we call this article.controller.create function. In the others here, we don't use the measure because to log in or to register, the user don't need to be logged in the system, of course, but just explaining. And then we have this measure. Then the first thing when the user calls this root is going to hit this login required function. If everything fine, if the token is valid, if the user is logged in, it's going to call the article controller.create. Let's see our measure. The measure it gets from the request header the authorization. If authorization is not provided, it's going to return an error login required, and 401 status, that means the 401 status means that the user is not authorized to access that root. And from the token, we're going to get the schema and the token. The schema is beer. It basically, it's a pattern we follow. This beer, it basically means that whoever's bears it, has it, can access that root. And okay, and if the schema is not beer, we're going to return an error, unauthorized as well. And then we're gonna use this try-cat function. The try will get the data from the token. The data, it contains the it's not here, it's in the service. The data contains the ID, the name, the email, and the role. And then this function jwt.verify is going to get the data. It's going to pass the token and verify using the secret if the token is valid. If it's valid, it's going to get the data. We're going to get the ID from the data. We're going to try to find the user. We're going to call this function from the user service, find by ID. Here, find by ID. And if the user doesn't exist, we're going to return an error saying invalid user. And we're going to set this hack.user is going to be equal user, and we are going to call next. And if some error occurs, if for example the token is not valid, it is going to beat here the catch and return an error saying that the token is invalid, and return the status 401. Then the article controller, we are going to expect an title and the text. If they aren't provided, we are going to return this error, this 400 error, saying that the title and the text are required. Then we are just going to create our article if everything's fine. We're going to use the article service to create our article, and we are going to return our article. Let's go to the Insomnia. Okay, I'm gonna just send. It says login required because I didn't pass my header. I have to click here, header, it's authorization. I think I can pass this with a uppercase, and the value. Okay, what's going to be the value? It's going to be beer, the beer here. That it's the schema. Okay, it's here, and then we click space and we pass the token. The token is this one here, saved on the base environment. It's the token. It's valid because, okay, I'm gonna put an invalid token. No, not now, actually not now. And then okay, I'm gonna click send. Okay, it passed the measure saying that the token is valid, but we didn't pass the title and the text. We have to pass the title. Title can be A and the text can be A as well. Send. Okay, we have created the article, and we validated if the user is is valid if the user is really who he says he is using his token before creating the article. And then once we come here, there's my article. Okay, let's just do a test. For example, if I try to create a B and B, can just come here and change my token. I'm gonna put like a here. It has to return invalid token. Exactly. Let's just do a test. For example, I'm gonna change here in the Auth service. Expires in 1 minute. Okay, let's put 1 minute. Let's generate another token. Okay, login. Okay, we generated another token that is going to expire in 1 minute. You can just come here in the base URL and change my token. Close. If I try to create now, it's going to create. Okay, we have the B. Okay, let's expect 1 minute. It's 9 p.m. 58. Let's expect 1 minute. C and C here, for example. Okay, when we try to create now, let's try to create now again. And when you send a request, it's going to return an error saying that the token is not valid anymore. At the beginning of the video, I told you that we have to be careful with the information that we store in the token payload. For this reason here, let's do some change. For example, I'm gonna say that my token will be valid for 7 days. 7 days, just as an example. Here in the token, we are going to get the row, alright? Console.log row. Okay, in the Auth service. Okay, in the Auth service, in this function generate token, we save the users row in the token. Okay, alright, let's go to our database. Users find, let's change it for admin. Okay, update it. Okay, that's fine. And then let's generate a token. Okay, I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna disable it for a while, because if I don't disable it, every time it's going to call the controller and create an article. Okay, now I'm doing the console.log in the users row when this measure is called. And here, if I just send, oh, it's not here, sorry. If I send here, okay, invalid token. I have to pass the token here first. Let me just change the token here first. Close. Now I'm gonna send. Okay, it's going to be infinite. I have to pass just turn next, for example, and the controller, I'm just going to return. Okay, I'm just not going to pass the text. I think it's better. Okay, I have to remove it. Once I send, it's going to hit my let me just restart my API. Let me do it again. Yeah, dev. Okay, once I send, I'm gonna see the user role here. Login required. Okay, login required here. User role. Okay, let me send again. Okay, it's updating, I think. Let me send again. Okay, what's happening? I don't understand. I think the API is not running properly. Let me try again to run it again. Let me run it again. Okay, now I'm gonna see my user row. It's admin, but if I come here in the database and change the user row to user again, even though if I verify the user row by the data stored in the token, it's still going to be admin for 7 days, but in my database it's a standard user, but in the token it's admin. Then the user will have 7 days with admin permissions, even though in the database we changed his role to a standard user. For example, I'm just console the role token cons user from database user row. Okay, user row from database. Let's send it again. Oh my god. Okay, it happened. Can you see? Okay, I didn't save in the database probably. It's still admin. Let me change it to user and update it. Let me send it now. Okay. In the token, it's still admin. User row from the token, it's still admin, but in the database, it's user standard. Then we have to be careful with that, because if we validate the user role from the token, we can have some inconstance, as I explained it to you. For example, we can change the user from admin to a standard user, but if in the token it's admin yet for 7 days, the user will still have permission as an admin for 7 more days, you know. Because of that, we have to be very careful with that. And the solution I did, it's that I go to the database, I find the user, and then I save the user in the request using rec.user is equal user. And then if I want to know the user role, for example, can just come here in my controller and use it like that. I can get my user here and say that my const user row is equal user dot row, for example, you know. That's the right thing to do. I cannot just do like user row and pass it here, for example. And after that, come here in login required and pass, for example, but user row, it's going to be the row that I get here. I cannot do that. That's not the right thing to do. That's a vulnerability that we have to take care of. Doing that, getting the user row from the user from the database. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your time. Trust a short video, but I hope I can help you to understand a little bit more about the Auth system. And if you want to, I can create a layout, a front end to consume this API I did with you guys. Thank you for everything. If you have some doubt, you can just ask me in the comments. I gonna answer everyone. Okay, thank you for everything, and see you in the next video.